Hey YouTube, this is Ben Gessel. How's it going? I'm gonna make a few videos about music composers here. Probably won't cover everything in one video. Uh, so we're gonna start out with these are all the composers that, or not all. These are some of the composers that I am most fond of, and I tend to listen more to and get more out of for my own compositions. So just to give you an idea of what we're looking at for all these videos, these are all a whole bunch of composers, different musical genres. There's a whole bunch of them, and I'm going kind of quick over them all. But we're going to focus on these classical guys here for this video. And this is in no particular order, although some of the ones toward the beginning you might notice are somewhat stronger or might be more favorited for me. Okay, here we go. Igor Stravinsky. Definitely not my favorite composer, but I love how Stravinsky's music has a lot of variety to it. He tried a lot of different things, or at least he tried romanticism or late romanticism, primitivism, which is kind of sounds barbaric or whatever. It sounds just ugly, and also neoclassical styles, as well as maybe some other stuff. But Stravinsky's pretty versatile. That's Igorstravinsky, in case you guys can't read my handwriting too well. Igor Stravinsky. Yep, he's on my list, but he's not one of my favorites necessarily. And of course, Dvorak. I love Antonin Dvorak. Dvorak. Probably the greatest Czech composer. And Bedřich Smetana would be noticeable as well. I haven't really heard of Leos Janáček's music as much, but these are some of the big Czech composers, and Dvorak is the big one. And believe me, I've played his music at least a handful of times, many times. Especially Symphony Number 9, of course, but other symphonies as well, other pieces as well. So I'm very fond of Dvorak. He's a very good man, extremely good man. Whereas Stravinsky is a little bit intense and serious, and there's a lot of sides. There's a lot of sides Stravinsky, of course. There's kind of a professor type side or intellectual side, and there's a I don't know. He has like eccentric side. Dvorak is I think more personable type guy and very much awesome guy. He donated some music, I think, to a college in New York City to help out African American composers and stuff. I mean, he's a really cool guy, Dvorak, really awesome guy. Okay, of course, everybody knows about Beethoven. Yeah, I'm fond of Beethoven. Bach as well, Johann Sebastian Bach. Sir Edward Elgar. Yeah, Sir Edward Elgar is another British composer. He's a British composer I'm very fond of. So all these guys, you should check out their music if you are curious about them. Claude Debussy, or Kelly Claude Debussy, very much, yes, on my list. Huge fan of Debussy. Maurice Ravel, of course. Ralph Vaughan Williams. It's pronounced Rafe, but it's Ralph, like a Ralph, but it's Ralph Vaughan Williams, Vaughan hyphen Williams, Williams. And of course, Sergei Rachmaninoff. Many of you guys are familiar with Rachmaninoff. It's Rachmaninov. Sometimes you see the FF instead of the V, whatever. So, there's two different ways for. There's the German way of saying so Georg Friedrich Handel or George Friedrich Handel. Of course, pretty familiar Messiah guy. Yep, he's on my list. Water music, all that good stuff. Alexander Scriabin, Russian composer, very eccentric, very emotional guy, very good composer. That's Scriabin. Sometimes I think you might see a KS, like Alexander, but I think it's usually with an X. I don't know. And of course, with Tchaikovsky, a lot of times you just see Peter, Peter, but this is the Russian spelling or the Lithuanian spelling. Pyotr, Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. Of course, very familiar famous Russian, Lithuanian, French, but basically Russian composer. We won't get technical here. Alexander Borodin, of course, Alexander Borodin, Alexander Borodin. All these guys are very high on my list. George Butterworth, Cyril Scott, both really good British composers. Howard Hanson, American composer. Yep, Ivor Gurney, another British composer. That's Ivorgurney. I didn't put down Sir Arthur Bliss, but he could be on here as well. There's many others, Fernie Hugh, and there's a lot of good British composers. Frédéric Chopin, really good Polish composer, part Polish, part French, but Polish nationality mainly. Another Polish classical composer of note is Henryk Górecki. It's Gorecki. Henryk Górecki. And as far as modern composers, which I'm not really fond of, but Krzysztof Penderecki is worth checking out. And Krzysztof Penderecki. Last name I believe is Pender. Oh boy. Well, you should be able to find it. But his first name starts with a K, Krzysztof. It's like Krystof, I think, or something. Anyway, but there's a lot of good Polish composers. Sometimes Poland can be overlooked a little bit sometimes with composers. Gustav Holst, of course, composer of The Planets. Gabriel Fauré, Pavan, Panis Angelicus. He wrote a lot for the Catholic Church, choral music, that sort of thing. Solos. And Jules Massenet is sometimes associated with Gabriel Fauré as well, because Jules Massenet, of course, wrote the famous melody Elegy. But anyway, more on those guys. There's so many classical composers I know of, like Jacques Offenbach and Georges Bizet, I just don't have room for. And studying classical music in college and private lessons, there's hundreds and hundreds of these guys, and so sometimes they just pop in my mind. But some of these guys, I'll mention the big ones here I'm most fond of here in just a sec. But these are some of the big ones. Of course, Robert Schumann, Schumann, and of course Camille Saint-Saëns. Yep, it's pronounced Saint-Saëns. It's like Sains with a hyphen, but it's pronounced Saint-Saëns. Saint-Saens. Camille Saint-Saëns wrote the music of Carnival of the Animals and his organ concerto, which you hear in the movie Babe, and many other awesome pieces that I've played on horn. Camille Saint-Saëns is just amazing composer and also piano teacher, and just huge in French music earlier on. Antonio Vivaldi, yep. Johannes Brahms, of course, yep. Richard Wagner, yes, we don't like the man, but I like his music. I've made another video, by the way, about some of the stuff before, but this one's going to go probably into a little bit more detail about some of these guys. So I know I'm kind of going over some familiar territory here, but Percy Grainger, I think he's technically Australian, but we're talking about basically British. Wrote a lot of band music, wind ensemble music. Vincent Persichetti, also wind ensemble music. Very good composer. That's Vincent Persichetti. Persichetti. Felix Mendelssohn, of course, and Edvard Grieg. And there's many others as well. But looking at just a few of these guys in particular that I'm very fond of, I'm particularly fond of the kind of top 10: Bach, Elgar, Debussy, Ravel, Vaughan Williams, Rachmaninoff, and Handel. So basically those 7, plus Tchaikovsky is 8, Howard Hanson 9, Chopin's close to that group. 10 for Chopin. Yeah, that's probably rounded out Chopin. Those are some of my favorites on this list. And of course, Beethoven, sure. And you might be wondering where Mozart is, or where Haydn is, or where Telemann is, or where Palestrina is, or Monteverdi, or you might be wondering about Modest Mussorgsky, or Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, or um, uh, Ottorino Respighi, Verdi, Rossini, uh, Mascagni, and Puccini, and there's another guy, Leo Delibes, I also am very fond of. There's so many, and then also Spanish guys, Manuel de Falla. There's only so much room, folks, to put all this stuff in here. Alberto Ginastera, it's a whole bunch of boys, not even including the modern era. So, okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. Leave me your thoughts and comments below. I'll catch you guys later. Take care.